Hello, my name is Mark Hobart, and together with my colleague Cola over here, we're going to present the Essential Concepts Inc. video series. This is a special video about catastrophic humor. And there's another picture of Cola. And those are our trademarks. This is part one. They will come in. Catastrophic humor takes two parts. That's the tag search, mutare fatum. We will explain catastrophic thinking in over 30 videos, and many times we use dark, indeed catastrophic humor to illustrate points used in this series. But as a catastrophist, living in the midst of a 2020 pandemic, which is happening even now in 2024, I must first save myself. Let me explain. The pandemic began in 2020. A terrible, often fatal flu-like virus spread worldwide. Vaccines had to be developed from scratch, and there were initial shortages, so vaccines had to be rationed. What's worse is here in 2024, a new variation has emerged, and they're developing a new vaccine. Whenever these vaccines are developed, they're distributed first to essential people. Essential people include doctors, nurses, hospital staff, first responders, military, National Guard, police, nursing home staff, government, teachers, supply chains for food and medicine. However, there are people at the bottom of the list of who's going to get the vaccines, and you know who you are. You're an expendable. You're old, fat, ugly, diabetic, type A blood type, respiratory weaknesses, cardiovascular, pulmonary weaknesses, and not performing essential services. Well, here's my problem. So are you expendable or essential? Being essential means doing something that will keep the country going. Being essential means risking your life by being in public and exposed to the viruses. Being essential means being earlier to get in line for vaccine. So you have to ask yourself the essential question, does America need you? Well, if you're already performing essential services, we all owe you our thanks. Get in line for the vaccines. If you're not, get involved. Volunteer for any of the essential functions, or fool people into thinking you are essential. See, this is all about me and about my survival. And the problem is, I'm retired, old, fat, ugly, diabetic, type A, respiratory issues, and cardiovascular problems. Now, these are all self-explanatory comorbidities, except perhaps ugly, but I'll give you this scenario. I'm having a hard time breathing. I'm being wheeled into the hospital room, into the last available respirator, and a pretty woman is being wheeled in at the same time. Who do you think's going to get the last respirator? Well, I think we know the answer to that. So my plan is to make the name Hobart synonymous with the word essential. You know, lots of things around here that are essential, like essential water, essential, well, just everything. The other thing I could do, and I thought about it, is take up smoking for medical reasons, because in New Jersey, it's better to be a smoker than to be essential. New Jersey decided that they would take up giving priority to 2 million smokers over some essential workers. And that's from the New York Times on about January 15th, 2021. So in the Essential Concepts series, I go through these essential concepts of thinking and policy formation. I will focus on how catastrophic assumptions, values, and expectations in analysis and thinking, which I will call caveat, differ from what we're doing things now. Of course, these are dark topics. I use humor, and to avoid such topics, I have to use catastrophic humor. So now, this video will now list over 30 references to dark humor, which may be used in subsequent videos in my class and presentation. The obvious first one is the funniest profession are lawyers. I mean, they have a whole genre. The funniest planet, doesn't matter whether you use the pronunciation of Uranus or your anus, whether you use pronunciations 1 or 2, it can still be funny. The funniest scientific pronouncement was that Pluto is not a planet, even though it has 5 moons. Pluto was the first victim of cancel culture. Funniest inspirational saying, which I have available on my website, is if you are determined to go to hell, you will succeed. That's how the Bible teaches it. You may not get into heaven, but you certainly can go to hell. Damnation is one of the few endeavors where you're guaranteed of success. The funniest comeback was look in a mirror. It answers both the what's the problem, what's the solution. The funniest comeback during the Roman Inquisition was by Galileo, and yet it moves. See, he was up for heresy, and they were going to kill him. So he had to retract his statement that the earth revolved around the sun because it was a heresy. Of course, on the way out of after he was his case was dismissed, he said, and yet it moves. Funniest response to a rude reporter was by General Philip Sheridan. The reporter asked him, "General, how do you like Texas?" And he said, this is back before the days of being politically correct, "If I owned Texas in hell, I would rent out Texas and live in hell." He's kind of a great general. Funniest joke is Johnny Carson's Sis Boom Ba, which you can find on YouTube channels. It's about the sounds made by an exploding sheep. The funniest punchline is, of course, a lawyer joke. "My goat is insane," and I will at some point explain that joke. And funniest pickup line is, "Hi, my name is George. I'm unemployed and I live with my parents." That was from the television show Seinfeld. It's a great pickup line because you start off by telling the girl 3 lies. Your name's not George, you're not unemployed, you live with my parents. It can only go up from there, so start with the funniest pickup line. The funniest animal, well, it's a tie between a platypus, which was when God took all the leftovers and made one more animal, or a cat. And the reason I think cats are so funny, look, over here we have a game called Exploding Kittens. Why not Exploding Bambi or Exploding something else? Well, puppies. No, it's a cat. Now the runner-up is the groundhog, also known as the woodchuck, and I'll have a parable about that in one of my presentations. Now, I had dinosaurs when I was a little kid, and in the dinosaur set, one dinosaur I never had was the funniest dinosaur, which is the cockroach. The funniest fruit, it just sounds funny, is the kumquat. The funniest commercial was the General Auto Insurance commercial from 2020, which was a skunk that was named Sea Breeze, and so he's on my display of props. The funniest catastrophic movie, which I recommend to you, is Dr. Strangelove. The funniest movie about experts is a romantic comedy starring Rock Hudson, and he exposes what experts really are about, and is important in some of my later presentations about expertise. man's favorite sport. The funniest movie about unintended consequences, also a critical, essential concept, is the movie, again a Rock Hudson movie, back in the days when they wrote good scripts for movies, Lover Come Back. I recommend that one to you. There's the unintended consequences of an advertising studio that creates a commercial for a product that does not exist. Great premise. The funniest word that I was able to find is a bibliophobia, the fear of running out of things to read, although I think calamitous phobia, the fear of catastrophes, is why we're all here. Funniest dying words from General Sedgwick in the Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse in 1864. He berated his men for dodging sniper fire. They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance. Yeah. Funniest musical instrument is more cowbell. Funniest phrase I find is statistical certainty. Funniest book, right here. I have some other funny books from my catastrophic library, but the funniest book is Spurious Correlations. If we take this book up, I'll find one here. The inappropriate application of string theory is federal funding on page 48. The correlation between federal funding for science and space and technology is rising steadily over this period of time, and suicides by hanging, strangulation, and suffocation also correspond during this period of time to a correlation of 99.2%. Draw your own conclusions. So we'll talk about statistical analysis in the course of this study. The funniest lie is I don't lie. The funniest lie widely to be believed to be true is that statistics don't lie. With a runner-up, numbers don't lie. Well, originally that lying led into humor about government. And originally, when I started assembling catastrophic humor about prevarications, I started collecting the funniest observations about government. However, that turned out to be a whole separate topic, hence Catastrophic Humor Part 2. The Essential Concepts video series will explore catastrophic thinking and analysis, including the assumptions, values, and expectations that must change in our policy formation. There are many videos on the mental obstacles that hinder and prevent clear thinking in formulating crisis policies and planning efficient and effective policy responses. I have a website, essentialconceptsinc.com, and there's also, of course, the YouTube channel where all these videos are, and that's Caveat Mind. Please support my efforts to become essential. To like, subscribe, comment, and share. Thank you. This is the only way I can see that I'm going to become essential is if you make me so. So please share, but give credit. And I've got the little two types of trademarks there, copyright, but please share, just give credit. And then I'll end every video the same way with a prayer for peace. Thank you.